Hmm. Oh, creepy. Oh, hello. Didn't see there. I was just reading the first book in the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney manga. It's really good so far. Huh? What? You want to know my favorite Ace Attorney characters? Well, that's a tough one. I have so many favorites. Well, alright, I suppose it couldn't hurt to do a top 10. But, there are some rules. 1. The characters have to exist in the games. No matter how much I may like a character in the manga, they do not count. 2. No characters that originated in the Ace Attorney Investigation spin-offs will be included. I have never played those games, nor do I have any intention to. This will be explained. 3. Characters from the crossover game Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney are fair game as long as it is clear that they originate from the Phoenix Wright universe by design. And 4. This is my opinion. Your list may differ from mine, and that is perfectly fine. Oh, and keep in mind, this list will contain major spoilers for the games. If you do not want to be spoiled, please refrain from watching the video. You have been warned. Now, without further ado, here is my top 10 favorite Ace Attorney characters. Miles Edgeworth. Wait, what? Miles Edgeworth is in 10th place? I must be insane! No, actually, I assure you, I am quite sane. Unlike many others, I am not a Miles Edgeworth fangirl. While I do appreciate and like his character and character's design as a whole, I just don't like him as much as I like the other 9 characters on this list. I admire how he eventually came to wanting the truth of crimes and overcoming his ghosts of the past, but even with that, he's still not higher on the list. This is the reason I have no intention of playing his spin-off games, no matter how good they may be. Had those games included being able to play as Edgeworth in the courtroom, I might have been persuaded, but alas, that wasn't the case. Sorry, Edgeworth, but you just aren't higher on my list and never will be, despite how much I like your character with glasses on. Clavier Gavin. I honestly do not have much to say about this guy. There's just something extremely likable about his character. I have to admire the way he eventually took a stand against his brother Kristoff in the final case of the game, after learning what he had done to Phoenix Wright 7 years ago in the game's timeline. He practically begged Apollo to provide proof that his brother was an evil, murdering, and scheming scumbag. Once he got some hard facts, but not proof, unfortunately, he had no choice but to turn against his older brother. That took some guts to do. It is also quite apparent that he felt extremely guilty at the fact that he had a hand in making Phoenix lose his attorney's badge, despite it not being his fault in the first place. He had just placed too much faith and loyalty in his brother's words. That's the only thing he is guilty of, really. Simon Blackquill. Gee, numbers 10, 9, and 8 are all prosecutors. Not to fear, that streak went soon enough. But enough of that, let's talk about Simon Blackquill. Simon is the prosecutor in the recent Ace Attorney game Dual Destinies. When he's first mentioned, and eventually shown, you can't help but instantly like the guy, despite him being a criminal. Yes, up until the final case of the game, you believe Simon to be a murderer and true criminal, but that is far from the truth. Simon Blackquill has some of my highest respect as a game character, on top of him having this cool factor about him. In the final case of Dual Destinies, it is revealed that Simon was not the one to kill Athena's mother, but he took the fall to protect her and was even willing to be put to death to keep her protected at all costs. You managed to prove both him and Athena innocent, providing you don't screw up, of the murder of Menace Sykes, and Simon gets to go free for the first time in 7 years. Athena has her fears put to rest that she, indeed, did not kill her own mother. It's quite a happy ending, actually. Simon Blackwell, I take my hat off to you for your bravery and what you were willing to do to protect your mentor's daughter. Trucy Wright, the adopted daughter of Phoenix Wright. Okay, who didn't see this one coming? Most people tend to like her after all. Well, anyway, it's a bit difficult to explain why I like her, to be honest with you. She just has this likability factor about her, much like Clavier Gavin has. She's a bubbly source of energy that can brighten even the darkest of days for someone. She seems to have this no-problem attitude about everything, much like Maya Fey, but toned down a bit. If you want my opinion, she is probably the only reason Phoenix didn't wallow in despair over losing his badge. Oh, and she and her half-brother Apollo make quite the pair together when they were working on a case. I was rather disappointed in Dual Destinies with taking away that dynamic duo and replacing her with Athena Sykes, even though Athena is quite a character in her own right. Her replacing Trucy never sat well with me, unfortunately. Anyway, Trucy Wright is just a really fun and likable character, and I felt gypped with her lack of appearances in Dual Destinies. She was there, no doubt, but her role is extremely limited, and I won't forgive Capcom for that one. Apollo Justice. A funny story about this guy. I never really liked him that much until I played Dual Destiny, as I went back and finally played his own game and got to know his character better. Enough about that though, let's talk about him. It's a bit hard to describe why I like Apollo, in all honesty, even more so than Trucy. The guy is just so serious about everything, but he has some of the funniest and one of the cutest, his flustered, embarrassed look, animations in the games. He has such a simple design, much like Phoenix, but there's something about it that I like but can't pinpoint. He actually had the guts to punch Phoenix at the end of the very first case of his game. I don't think he won points with people for that one, but I was one of the few who felt that Nicky Boy deserved that uppercut. He could have seriously gotten Apollo in trouble for the fake Evans stunt he pulled, all in the name of revenge against Christoph Gavin. Not that Christoph didn't deserve that revenge, but that's beside the point. Apollo, I may not have liked you for the longest time, but you eventually won me over, even when you went and left the agency for a while in Dual Destinies. Don't ever do that again, and we'll be just peachy. Zacharias Barnum. Well now, we're getting into the top 5 here finally. Now, what to say about Zach? Much like Simon, Zach was a character I instantly liked when he first appeared on screen in the crossover. Many people say that he's an inferior Simon Blackwell, despite the fact that Simon came after Zach, but I don't believe that one bit. As a matter of fact, Zach reminds me more of Miles Edgeworth than Simon. In the beginning, all he cared about was sentencing the witches to death in the name of justice. But, much like Miles, quickly learns that learning the truth is far more important. When he learns this lesson, he sets out to find the truth about his town and of magic. On top of all that, he's an honorable guy that has my respect as a character. Plus, how could you not love his character design? It's based on a falcon. He's also quite a shy guy, as seen in the bonus episodes. To anyone who doesn't like Zach because you believe he's an inferior and undeveloped Simon Blackwell, look again and you'll see the differences. Arthur Cantabella, aka the Storyteller. Another one of the crossover characters? Yes indeed. When I first saw Arthur Cantabella, or the Storyteller as he is known mostly as, I instantly liked him, despite him being labeled as the bad guy of the crossover. In the end though, it turns out he wasn't the bad guy after all, and was only doing what he had to do to protect both his daughter, Espella Cantabella, and his friend's daughter, Eve Belduke. Perhaps he went about in the wrong way, but he only had the best intentions after all. And I cannot fault the guy for that. And plus, this guy has one of the coolest designs for an Ace Attorney character that I've ever seen. I won't spoil exactly what he did, but suffice to say it's a very interesting tale. The only thing I fault the game for doing with him is mashing the entire story together in the end in one big exposition, instead of revealing it slowly over the course of the game. I'm not kidding you. The ending is just one big exposition of what Arthur had done. It's an interesting tale, but it was a bit of a snore fest having to read/listen to all of it at once. Aside from that, he's a great character. He has a heart of gold with his intentions, but even he has his faults in the end. Damon Gant. What? A bad guy in my top 3? I must be losing my mind. No, I'm not. I like Damon Gant's character very much, actually. From his design down to his convincing I'm a good, but stern, guy attitude. It's completely deceiving, and I give my respect to Capcom for deceiving the players. Typically in an Ace Attorney game, you can easily pinpoint the murderer from the beginning. But not with this guy. Damon gives everyone the runaround with his motives and character. In the end, you come to find out he only cares about himself and his career, and that he murdered not 1, but 2 people. His I care about you attitude is only a facade that has you believing in it up until a certain point, in the longest case in any main Ace Attorney game. His character is based on the Greek god Zeus, which you can easily and instantly spot in his design. Congrats to Capcom for giving a killer a badass design. He, in fact, is the only murderer in the Ace Attorney games that I like. As for the others, they will get their own list in the future. Props, Capcom. You gave me a killer that I actually like as a character. In my top 3 characters, I like the best, no less. Phoenix Wright. I must be joking, right? Right? How could Phoenix not be my number 1? Well, actually, it was a close tie between Phoenix and my number 1, but my number 1 won out in the end. Don't get me wrong, I really like Phoenix. He's one of the best main characters of any game series. He's got a quirky personality, plenty of faults, and he's just one of those characters that you just want to hug and never let go. He's also a bit of a crybaby, which you rarely see in any main male character of any game. He's the epitome of what you want to strive for in any character. A human being that's not perfect and is, well, a human being. When I played through the crossover, I got a good sense of how and who Professor Layton was. And I have to admit, I was disappointed in him. Layton is one of those perfect guys that have little to no fault in his character. It kinda turned me off from playing his game series at that point. But Phoenix was spot on with his personality and all that. Put Phoenix next to Layton and you'll quickly see the differences. The spiky-headed attorney is one of the best main characters in any game series when it comes to being a human being. So why is he only second on my list then? Well, like I said, he tied with my number 1, but I pushed him to number 2 because having Nicky Boy as number 1 would be way too cliche. So, just who is my number 1? Well, let's get to it. So, my number 1 Ace Attorney character is... drumroll please. Franziska von Karma. I bet you never saw that one coming, huh? Well, it's true. Like Zack and Simon, she was one of those characters I just instantly liked the moment I saw her on screen in my game. Sure, she may be like her father a bit when it comes to wanting to win all of her cases. But unlike her father, she doesn't do it underhandedly, nor is she a murderer. She actually admits that she isn't perfect at the end of Justice for All, and soon has one of the most saddest looking faces ever. Seriously. Fear the baby face. Fear it. There's also something about her design that I just love, but I can't pinpoint it. I'm not a lesbian, but I have to admit she is one good looking girl. Maybe that's the reason I like her design? I don't know. But whatever it is, I like it. On top of all that, she has and uses the whip in and out of court. How they allow her to have that in the courtroom, I'll never know. But it's Ace Attorney. They allow the weirdest of things in the courtroom. I really don't have much else to say about Franny, to be perfectly honest. But she is just one of those characters I like for almost no reason whatsoever, despite her having quite an attitude that would turn off almost everyone. At the end of the day, though, she's just a little lost girl on the inside. I salute you, Franziska von Karma, for making me like you for almost no apparent reason. And for that, you get my #1 spot. So, there you have it, my top 10 favorite Ace Attorney characters. Yeah, I know. Maya, Pearl, nor Mia favor on the list, because, to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I don't mind them as characters, but I just don't like them that much. Maya and Pearl have this annoyance factor about them that just aggravates me to no end. As for Mia, I have nothing against her, but she is a bit bland as a character compared to a lot of the other characters in the series. Aside from that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment on your favorite Ace Attorney characters, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos. KK out. Fear the babyface.